Hey, hey! Welcome to Generation Rise, the podcast with Marcus Bell. Thank you all so much for coming in and checking me out. I have a topic today that is a little close to home for me. And it's about an NBA player a former NBA player that is actually from my general area, right outside of Washington, D.C., and no, I have never met this person directly, but I have a lot of friends that have been associated with him, that used to be friends with him. He went to a high school that kind of rivaled my high school. So the story is about an NBA player by the name of Delonte West. Now, Delonte West, it went to Eleanor Roosevelt High School. He went on and played at St. Joseph's in Pennsylvania, and then he went on to be in the NBA, got drafted by the Celtics, spent time playing with LeBron in Cleveland, played with the Dallas Mavericks. And over the last couple of years, there have been several different stories that have come out about Delonte that focused around his mental health issues with being bipolar and struggles with depression and addiction. And there have been stories of him kind of panhandling and being homeless. And basically, the stories lately have kind of shown his fall from grace, his fall from being in the NBA and having everything at his disposal as an NBA player to, really struggling with getting himself together in his post-NBA life. And a story came out about a week or two ago that said that the Dallas Mavericks owner, Mark Cuban, had actually been able to help convince Delonte West to get some help and to check into rehab and start taking steps to get his life together. Mark Cuban was able to help reunite him with his family, and he even said that he would cover the costs associated with him going to rehab and really just taking steps to get himself together as a person. And this discussion is not so much about drugs or the NBA or anything like that. This discussion is really focused on two things. It's really going to be focused on mental health and pride. Now, when I say mental health, I'm talking bipolar disorder, depression, battles with anxiety, eating disorders, PTSD, battles with addictions. I'm even including things relating to learning disabilities, dyslexia, ADHD, having issues with OCD. All of these things and many more that I did not mention fall within mental health in my mind. And it is super important that if you have any kind of mental health issues or needs or things that need to be addressed, it is super important that when you recognize that you have something, that you get the help that you need. That's where pride comes into play. And I'm not talking about just pride to be proud of your name, proud of your school, to have self-worth and dignity. I'm more so talking about that type of pride that comes with arrogance and superiority, that type of pride that makes a person not willing to ask for help, believing that nobody can help you, not recognizing that you need help, being kind of above reproach and not being willing to take feedback or help from other people, not wanting to be told what to do. That mentality that I can do it all on my own. And something that really kind of strikes me in this particular story, I think there is something to be said relating to pride in terms of not being willing to receive help. The Bible says that pride comes before destruction. And I know that there is a certain stigma that comes with asking for help and needing help. There's a certain scrutiny that comes with seeking help. There is a potential that confidentiality is not what you really want it to be when you're seeking help. But let's be clear about one thing. Everybody needs help at some point. It doesn't matter how much money you have. It doesn't matter what kind of fame you have. It doesn't matter how much power you have. Everybody needs help at some point. And on top of that, everybody that quote unquote is a self-made person, has pulled themselves up by the bootstraps and all of those type of things, even those people needed help from somebody along the way. Nobody does great things all by themselves. People need other people to kind of believe in what they're doing. If you're an artist or if you're a singer or a rapper, you need people to believe in your voice and buy your product. You need somebody that will invest in the things that you are trying to do. So even though you may have come up with the idea, it takes a group of people. It takes other people to kind of sew into your idea, to believe in what it is that you're trying to produce, to help you get to the point of making it big, or to making that idea turn into something that is extraordinary that people will gravitate towards. So sometimes you can have all of the resources in the world at your disposal and still not get the help that you need to take you where you want to go. In this particular case, Delonte West was an NBA player, and he definitely had tons of resources in his vicinity that could have helped him get the help that he needed to deal with his issues, to deal with the things that he needed to kind of balance himself to the point of being more productive in his post-NBA career. I've read stories of former teammates wanting to help him. I've read stories of former coaches wanting to help him. I've read a lot of different stories of other people that have tried to reach out and help him. But again, if you're not willing to receive help, even in times when you know that you need help, that is a pride issue. And sometimes we have to swallow our pride so that we can get all the things that we want, that we can get to the places that we want to be, and that we can get the sustainability that we want in our lives. I'll tell you a story that may apply a little closer to my Rise family. I coach at a high school, at a private high school, and a couple of years ago, we had a couple of guys that transferred into this high school. And when they transferred in from a program that did not use technology that often. And at this particular high school, everybody has Chromebooks. A lot of things are done online, submitted online. So it requires typing skills and the ability to navigate different technologies. Well, these guys that transferred in didn't have that foundation in technology and typing, and they were really starting to fall behind and struggling academically because they took so long to type up assignments, or they really just couldn't completely grasp how much typing and things was involved in getting their schoolwork done. So they were really struggling at this point. So I was giving one of my Rise Generation character development sessions to the football team. They were football players. And this ended up coming out in the form of a question from one of the guys. I found out that they were struggling with typing because he asked me a question. And in the midst of the discussion that we were having, I asked the team, how many of you guys know how to type? And most of the guys' hands went up. And I was like, do any of you have a program or know of somebody that can help them with learning how to type? And most of the guys' hands went up and said, oh, I have a program that if you practice 5 or 10 minutes a day, your typing will go up tremendously in a matter of days or weeks. So these transfer guys were so prideful in terms of not wanting to ask for help, not wanting to feel as though they were inferior or feeling as though they were stupid or having people look at them in a certain way, that they wouldn't swallow their pride enough to ask for the help that they needed, that the help that would help make them successful in this new environment that they were transitioning into. sometimes the pride stops us in our own way. It gets in our own way to get the things that we need so that we can be successful, so that we can be great, so that we can pull out the things inside of us that we need to share with the world. So here are a couple of things that I want my Rise family to remember if you are dealing with any kind of mental health issue, any kind of learning disability, anything really in your life that you think really stops you from getting to where you want to go. The first thing I want you to remember is that you are not alone. I know a lot of people think nobody really understands me. Nobody can relate to what I'm going through, and how it's impacting me. Well, let me give you a list of a couple of people that you may know that have or still deal with particular mental health wellness issues. So let me give you the first one. A WNBA player by the name of Chamique Holdsclaw, who's in the WNBA and Women's Basketball Hall of Fame. She was a extraordinary women's basketball player. She played college ball at the University of Tennessee and broke all kind of records there. But she was a WNBA player that battles bipolar disorder and depression. She currently has a podcast, and unfortunately I don't know the name of it, but it talks through different mental health, wellness type of topics and issues. But she was able to overcome or put together a team and a plan to help her organize her life so that she can cope with the bipolar disorder and continue to be productive in the things that she does. One of the most decorated Olympian swimmers of all time, Michael Phelps, has admitted that he has ADHD and he's had battles with depression. Simone Biles, the gymnast, ADHD. Magic Johnson, NBA great Magic Johnson, and he's also a business entrepreneur, a business guru. He's battled with dyslexia and ADHD. Dexter Manley, who most of my Rise family probably don't know, he was an NFL player in the 80s. He's one of the Washington Redskins defensive linemen, but he battled through addiction, learning disabilities. This guy was illiterate well into his NFL playing career. Illiterate, meaning that he could not read well into his NFL playing career. That means that people passed this guy along all the way through middle school, high school, college, and everything like that without him being able to read. I read a story about him and saying that when he came into the NFL, he would always have his players, he would always have his teammates drive him around because he could not read the road signs to know how to get to practice, how to get to the field, how to get home. So he would always have somebody drive him. And when he had to drive himself, he had the hardest time getting around because he couldn't read the signs to tell him where he needed to go. Another person that you may recognize is a guy by the name of Elon Musk. Elon Musk is the co-founder of Tesla, the car company, but he's also a major entrepreneur. He has a ton of different businesses, but he's admitted to having battles with bipolar disorder and depression also. So you are not alone. You are not the only person that is dealing with issues that require some additional attention to help you get to where you need to go. But all of those people are very successful people in the world of sports, in the world of business, even despite the battles that they've had with different mental health disorders and issues. So you are not alone. You are not the only person out here. And if nothing else, God is always with you as well. And I can guarantee that the people that love you the most, even as you battle, even as you have your ups and downs and your struggles, they are there with you. Sometimes you just have to swallow your pride and reach out to them so that they can figure out the best way to help you. Another thing I want you, the Rise family, to remember is that everything is going to be okay. There is nothing that you can be brought to that you cannot be brought through. I'll say that again. There is nothing that you can be brought through that you cannot be brought through. Another thing, you are not weak or inferior if you need to seek, ask, or receive help. Actually, I believe that is a strength. If you can swallow your pride to the point of saying, I need help, that is a strong person that can do that. You are not a weak person if you need help. You are not a weak person if you seek help. You are not a weak person if you receive help from somebody. Just because you are different, just because you learn different, does not make you inferior in any way. Let me tell you this also. The more things that you hold in, all it does is build up, and eventually you will explode. And it's going to come out in a way that's going to shock everybody. It might even shock yourself. And then you're going to have people looking at you in a different way. So if you hold in and you try to hide whatever issue, whatever it is that you may be dealing with, it's only going to come out, it's only going to manifest in a different way. And oftentimes it comes out in a big explosion and people are going to look at you like, whoa, where did that come from? So don't hide it. Get the help that you need so that you can prosper in it. Another thing that I want to tell you guys is that your quote unquote issue or disability or whatever it may be, it uniquely positions you to reach out to connect with, and to help other people that have relatable situations to you. What that means is that even with your issue, even with your situation, you are valuable. Don't ever think that you are not valuable. Just because you have a learning disability does not make it so that you are not valuable. With your issue, you can help other people. There are other people that are watching you. There are other people that are looking up to you that may or may not know what your issue is. But I can guarantee you that once you get comfortable in whatever it is that you're going through and you share it, other people will look up to you and be able to respond to your particular story. So there is value in you. There is value in your journey. There is value in your story. The Bible also says that when pride comes, then comes disgrace. But with the humble is wisdom, which means that even if you fall down with your particular issue, whether that be bipolar disorder, depression, or anxiety, or dyslexia, God uses those things to humble us sometimes so that we can get the wisdom out of our situation so that we can speak it into other people. There is wisdom that comes with difficulty. There is wisdom that comes through struggle. Sometimes we don't get that wisdom when we're always at the top. In this particular story that I was talking about with Delonte West, he was at the top. And then he got brought all the way down. But I can guarantee you, if he's able to rebuild his life through rehab, his story will be able to impact so many people. Because there are so many people that think nobody understands. This is a guy that was at the top of the top. He was in the NBA. He was playing with LeBron. He was playing against the world's best basketball players that there are out there. And he got stripped to the point of being homeless. Got stripped down to the point of being panhandling and having to ask for stuff from people. But I can guarantee you there's some infinite wisdom that he will gain out of this, that he will not only be able to have for himself, but he will be able to eventually share with other people. So sometimes the things that we go through is so that we can speak to it. Sometimes we have to be humbled. Sometimes we have to do things that we don't want to do. We have to be stripped down so that we can gain the wisdom, not just for ourselves, but so that we can help others. And I really want to make sure that I don't completely gloss over this part of the story that I was sharing. In the story, it said that the owner of the Dallas Mavericks, Mark Cuban, he personally went to a gas station and picked up Delonte West, took him to a hotel, reunited him with his family, and then checked him into a rehab facility. Now, as an owner of an NBA team, an owner of an NBA franchise, as a person that has multiple businesses, that is a CEO, there are tons of things that Mark Cuban could have been doing with his time. But he took the time out to go help Delonte West. Now, I know some people are going to say he's a owner, he has a ton of money, he can do this for Delonte West and many other guys. But what does that say about the character that Delonte West had shared with Mark Cuban and other people, that so many people want to help him? That so many people want to help him. That even in his darkest moments, there are still people at the top that want to help bring him back up. And the Bible says, love thyself as thy neighbor. I think Mark Cuban is absolutely showing that right now, is that he would take time out of everything else that he has going on in his life to help out one of his former players. Somebody that spent time in his organization and was an asset to his team, that even though he fell on hard times, that he's willing to drop everything to come help him out, to get him the help that he needs to get his life back on track. So you've heard me say that sometimes talent can take you to places that your character can't sustain you. In the same breath, sometimes your character can open up opportunities that you don't expect. Like getting the help that you may not want, getting the help that you may not ask for, but the help that you need. And that's something that Mark Cuban did in this situation, that he helped Delonte West and is helping Delonte West get the help that he needs. Sometimes, family, we have to swallow our pride to get to what it is that we need, to get it to what it is that we want. We have to ask for the help. We have to be willing to put ourselves out there, to be willing to make ourselves vulnerable enough to get the help that we need so that we can get the greatness out of us that God put inside of us. Listen, Rise family, thank you so much for joining me here again today. If you have any comments, questions, just want to reach out to me. If you need help and I may be able to help you, reach out to me. My email is bell.riseent@gmail.com. You can connect with me on Twitter at RiseENT1, on Instagram, The Rise Generation, on YouTube, at Generation Rise. Check out this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and a bunch of other podcast hosts. Like, share, get your friends and family to listen to it. I appreciate all of your support. Thank you. God bless you, family. I love you. Now go be great.